Welcome to the Faith Radio Reading the Bible Together podcast. I'm your host, Angela Smith. For this series, we're reading through the first 6 chapters of Daniel, and our hope is that as we study the lives of Daniel and his friends, you will be encouraged to stand up for your faith while also exhibiting courage, wisdom, and respect. Joining me for every episode is University of Northwestern Bible professor Anna Rask. Welcome, Anna.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
So glad you're here. So we're so excited to partner with you.
Thank you.
In this.
Yeah. It's been a real honor to partner with you in several different ways.
Yeah, it was fun when I sent an email over to the head of the Bible department. I was like, does anyone happen to, who teaches the class on Daniel? And then to find out, that's one of your specialties.
Yeah.
So fun.
Wrote a workbook back on it a few years back now. So, it was a lot of fun to be able to bring it out again.
Very fun. Well, I'm going to tell everyone a little bit more about you. Anna is a biblical studies alum from the University of Northwestern, and she's been teaching Old and New Testament courses here at Northwestern since 2017. She's currently working on her PhD in Old Testament theology with Union Theological College in Belfast, Ireland. I could go so off on this because I love all things British and Irish, but
well, I haven't even been there yet, so I'm excited. I want to get over there someday.
And then while on a summer trip to Jerusalem, University College in Israel in 2011 as a UNW student, Anna felt called to pursue graduate work and confirmed her love for studying the Bible. She brings us passion, which I can confirm that she brings passion to the classroom. Her areas of interest include the Old Testament, especially the Pentateuch and Daniel. Her newest work is the workbook she was just talking about, Daniel, a workbook published in 2019. It features comments and responses from university students as well. That is cool.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun. I actually told my students when my publisher asked me to write this, I said, will you be my response people? Mm-hmm. And I had to get them to fill out all this paperwork that I could legally use their responses. And I just used their first names. But for some of the application questions, they wrote really honest answers. And so I include them in the book to show other readers, here's what someone who has gone through this course said about this topic and how they feel about it and what questions they have. So it was very helpful to hear them talk about it while I was writing it. So it was fantastic.
Well, and I'm sure, did they bring up applications or questions that maybe things you hadn't thought about?
Yeah, and a few of the questions that I have included at the beginning of each workbook chapter are some of theirs. They're like, well, I didn't understand this. And I thought, you're right. I didn't get that either. Yeah, let me try and figure that out. Yeah, so that was a real joy, and I'm indebted to those students. They were very helpful to me.
So how did your interest, especially in the Old Testament and Daniel,
Yeah, just to kind of back up a little bit, I grew up in a Christian home, and my parents took their faith very seriously, and they put all 3 of us, siblings and I, in Christian schools. And so Bible curriculum was part of my life since kindergarten, in addition to going to church too. And so I loved studying the Bible, and to me, it didn't feel like homework because, although we'd get tested and quizzed on it. And so when I was thinking about going to college, I was like, well, what am I good at? What do I enjoy? Favorite subjects? And my mom was like, well, you love your Bible classes. And I was like, wait, you can get a degree in that? So I was excited about that. And I came to Northwestern. That was the major I declared. I stuck with it and finished in 3 years.
Wow.
With a lot of summer school. Israel trip was part of it. And then I realized I wanted to do more. And I realized if you wanted to teach, especially at a college, you need a higher degree. And so I went to go pursue a Master's of Divinity, which is a pretty broad degree. And so I had to figure out, do I want to go into ministry or do I want to stay in academics? And so I moved towards academics, and then I was like, well, Old or New Testament? And after taking actually Hebrew, I had taken some Greek at Northwestern, but I fell in love with Hebrew. Hebrew is just fantastic. And
it's so, I've only scratched the surface, but every word is like a story.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. And to me, it came easier to me than Greek. I know some people are one or the other. God bless you both if you have both of them down. But so I just then had the best professors down at Trinity Evangelical Divinity School, and they just taught me so well, and then they gave me opportunities to get into the classroom. And so I started to kind of hone down on what I enjoyed and the topics I enjoyed, and Old Testament, clearly stood out. And then I needed to go further and further, and so I came back to Minnesota. I got a second master's, and I specifically focused on Old Testament theology, and started to dabble a little bit more in the Pentateuch. But as I've been teaching at Northwestern, the option came, hey, can you teach a Daniel course? So I taught it a couple times, and then a publisher came and was like, do you want to write a workbook or write something to help students? I said, okay. So it just kind of organically evolved step by step, but that's, I think, how God does it. He doesn't give you the whole plan, but he gives you step by step. So, and
it would be so overwhelming if he did.
Yeah. Like, I can't do that. But slowly but surely, he's making it happen.
That's so cool. But first, you mentioned the Pentateuch. Just for anyone listening who doesn't know what that is, will you explain what that is?
Yeah. Penta, the word 5, is the first 5 books of the Old Testament. You can also refer to as the Law or the Torah, which for the Hebrew Bible, it's mostly called the Torah, those 5 books. So it's Genesis through Deuteronomy. So those 5 books there. And my PhD research is revolving around the books of Exodus and Numbers, when the people of Israel complain in the wilderness. And so there's a lot of relevancy in there too. Like I can resonate with complaining. So that I'm just at the beginning, but there's a long way to go. But I do enjoy that research.
So is that because you said at a point you had to make a decision, do I want to do ministry or academics? Is it that research that made you kind of go more toward the academic side?
Yeah. Well, to be honest, then it started with my Israel trip here at Northwestern. I studied and lived there for 5 weeks as a sophomore in college during the summer. And the Bible came alive there. I was like, I want to pursue this. I want to dive deeper. But then, it was the research as I moved into topics I genuinely enjoyed. There's so much history in the Old Testament, and I love history. So I think I gravitated to those stories and those narratives and settled, in the Old Testament. And then I've had mentors and professors that have helped me find a topic that can be mined for research. You got to have an original question and problem and answer to do a PhD. And so that's what I'm working on right now.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
So let's shift a little bit and let's talk about kind of the overview of what you think that people need to understand or what you want people to understand as we're starting to dive into Daniel. So kind of more of an overview of Daniel.
Yeah. It's hard. It's a hard book, but the chapters we'll be studying, chapters 1 through 6, are probably the more well-known ones because they're very easy, simple stories to understand. And we teach them to kids in Sunday school. But if we kind of pause about it, it's like, hold on, we're telling a story about a man being thrown to lions. Right. Like, that's a little
and 3 guys in a furnace.
Yeah,
what?
In a furnace. Yeah. So they're very easy to read and exciting and engaging, but they have deep truths behind them of what it looks like to stand firm in your faith. And so part of what I want to do for our listeners is set the stage of understanding the culture that they are transported to and some of the challenges and pressure that they're under. And then I know you and I are going to tee up the last half of Daniel. We're not going to do a whole series on it. But the problem with the last half is there's a lot of questions about the prophecies in the last half. And there's numbers and there's metaphors, and I don't have all of the answers for that, but I have a grasp on what is being said, and I try to communicate that to my students of, okay, let's at least get a grasp of what we think the author's trying to communicate, even if we're walking away with questions.
I took a Revelation class, and the last half of Daniel and Revelation are closely, like a lot of that imagery and prophecy, right?
I tell my students to read Revelation while we're studying Daniel because it's like, oh, I've seen that image before. That's the same animal referenced in this book. So they're the same genre, that second half of Daniel. So that's why we see a lot of similarities.
Okay. Yeah. So what are the cultural kind of understanding that we need before we start digging into Daniel?
It's religious, linguistic, historical. Basically, Daniel and his friends are living in Judah, the southern nation. They've already had their sister nation to the north deported and really decimated by Assyria. And now there's a new world empire on the scene, Babylon, and they are brutal, and they are coming against the southern nation, and they want to take them down. They first make them vassals, and they want tribute being paid from them, and they lay siege to the city. And there's 3 deportations. Daniel and his friends are taken in the first one, and they're transported to a world they've probably never seen before. I mean, studies show that Babylon was a magnificent place. I'd love to have seen it. It's beautiful. Right along the Euphrates, and this beautiful gate into the city. Like it's a masterful work of art, but it's a very pagan city. They do not believe in the God of the Jewish people. And so they're going to be pressured to live a certain way, talk a certain way, study, and they're re-educated. And you will see them make choices about where to take a stand. And we have a blessing to have religious freedom, and we maybe can't relate to everything that they're going through, but we certainly can relate to the pressure to conform. We can make accommodations in our faith, and we see that Daniel and his friends didn't. They stood strong, and so it's an encouragement for us to do the same.
I am so excited about this.
Good. I'm excited too.
Well, I'm so glad that you are joining us for the Reading the Bible Together of Daniel, the first 6 chapters. Subscribe to this podcast, because every day as we read, we are going to be releasing a podcast. It's going to be a conversation between Anna and me, going through, talking about what she talked about, giving you the background that you need to understand the story, and then we'll break into some of the application and discuss some of the questions. So go ahead and subscribe to the podcast, and we will see you here next time.
The Reading the Bible Together podcast is a production of Faith Radio and Northwestern Media. Hosted, produced, and edited by Angela Smith. Special thanks to Professor Anna Rask. If you've enjoyed this podcast and want to hear more, consider financially supporting Faith Radio. Find more information at myfaithradio.com.
On the latest episode of the Wow God Stories podcast, we go to Africa.
I was raised in Sierra Leone in a community that truly lived the phrase, "It takes a village."
Until one day, the world outside Anita's village broke in.
I didn't grow up in a war zone, but I watched one unfold in the country I love.
God brought hope to her story and many others through radical provision.
God began to direct us towards Uganda, Africa.
I was born and grew up in the countryside of Ethiopia.
Nanj and I met in Kigali, Rwanda.
Discover how God showed up in the middle of war, loss, and impossible odds in Africa. Stories that'll make you say,
Wow, God.
Wow, God.
Wow, God.
Wow, God Stories. Wherever you get your podcasts.